Welcome to the Sci-Fi Diner podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Scott Herzog.
Good evening. I am Miles P. McLaughlin.
I'm Chrissy Raffensperger.
And I'm Dave Sellers.
And tonight we are revisiting a classic, a time travel show, if you will, a movie, I should say, called Frequency. And it really is fronted by some pretty stellar actors. So it's always exciting to go back and revisit this show. So this was a suggestion of Miles, who is our time travel aficionado, if you would, I guess, if we would say. Would you say, Miles, that's kind of if you have a choice between different science fiction, time travel is pretty high on the list for you?
It's definitely in the top five.
Yeah. Top
It's
five.
definitely in the top five.
Yeah, good.
hmm
All right, all right. Well, let's leap right into this. Before we get into it, we are going to be at shore leave this week. So if any of you are going to be at shore leave, make sure you find us, flag us down, and say hi. We would love to meet you and see you. We'll be floating around and trying to grab some good interviews to bring you on the Sci-Fi Diner. Well, Miles, why don't you go ahead and give us, since this movie is dated, I mean, we're looking at a movie that now is a quarter of a century old. Uh, Tell me a little bit about the precedent for this movie, just if people haven't watched it. Uh, Dave's shaking his head because he cannot believe this is 25 years old. But all right, so Miles, just give us a little bit of a
Yeah.
summary of this movie, then we'll kind of dive right into it.
A rare atmospheric phenomenon allows a New York City firefighter to communicate with the sun 30 years in the future via a ham radio. The son uses this opportunity to warn the father of his impending death in a warehouse fire and manages to save his life. However, what he does not realize is that changing history has triggered a new set of tragic events, including the murder of his mother. The two men must now work together 30 years apart to find the murderer before he strikes so they can change history again.
All right. So this seems on the surface to be playing with the theory of the butterfly effect, right? Small actions having these huge consequences in the future, right? You change something and it has changes something. So it's very much of a linear time travel type of story, isn't it? Wouldn't you say, Miles?
Definitely, and it's happening. Uh, it's happening like right in front of the main character's eyes. But the main character, one of the main characters played by Jim Caviezel, his character John Sullivan, just um, he's the only one who realizes that these these changes are happening. Um, but yeah, it's definitely a theory of linear time, and even the smallest. And we talk. I mean, we will talk about some of the things, even the smallest um, changes. Even if you change something for the good, this movie explores well. Even bad things can happen out of that too.
All right. Very
Yeah.
good. So this was a movie that came out 25 years ago. Did you guys watch it when it came out in theater?
Yes,
Oh, you did, Miles. And what was it?
I did.
And what was it like seeing
Yep.
it in theaters?
I wasn't sure what to expect at the time. My then wife wanted to see it, and I mean she was a sci-fi nerd, and so I went along. But I was it's not going to be much of a surprise. I really love this movie. I think this is a great movie, and so I enjoyed the heck out of this movie. And then when the movie came out on DVD, I made sure I got a copy and watched that several times, and took that movie to friends' house and said, "Hey, you got to see this movie." So. Um, so I think this movie still holds up as far as storytelling goes. I think it's shot really well, um, and there is no physical time travel involved. It's just it explores the idea of the aurora borealis, sunspots, and if you have the right equipment, you can talk to somebody from the past or from the future.
Right. Right.
And
So
it's
I saw it. I think I saw it like years later, like after it was released in DVD. I'm pretty sure. I know I didn't see it in theaters, but I remember enjoying the story and the premise of it. These sorts of films. Uh, I'm a sucker for it because I mean, I think part of it speaks to that whole father son dynamic. It's why I watch Field of Dreams and like cry at Field of Dreams when at the end he's playing catch with his dad, right? It has this there's something cathartic. I think that many times father-son relationships, at least for me in my experience, you always wish it would be closer. And when you have the chance like here to bring a redemption or to bring a father back, because he's been vacant out of the life, and the same way when in the Field of Dreams when he brings his father back and his catch with him, there's something cathartic and really that really captures and has an emotional sentimental appeal that I really fall for every time, and I think this movie's no different for me.
Oh, this movie hits you in the feels.
Yeah. Dave, how about you? When did you first see this movie?
Goodness. It very well may have been on a streaming service at one point. So it was
Okay.
certainly well after it. The part that impressed me the most with it was I was sitting here watching it on my phone yesterday, and my wife walks behind me, looks down, and sees it, and she's like, "Oh, is this the movie where the guy starts talking to his dad like back in time?" Like, yeah, how the hell do you know that? I've seen this before. Oh, okay. It's like, why are you surprised? No, I'm just surprised you picked out from the little shot you saw.
That's pretty awesome,
All right.
actually. That's funny.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great. Well,
Yeah.
it is fronted by such a good cast with Caviezel. This is like Caviezel before he's like really blowing up.
Mm-hmm.
You have Caviezel and Dennis Quaid just kind of capturing it. That's pretty awesome. I love this.
well, I saw it
So
was a Golden Globe nominee
yeah, yeah, absolutely. How about you, Chrissy? Where did you first encounter this movie?
this morning.
Oh, okay, nice.
Nice.
All right.
So being that you're fresh meat here, what was your impression seeing this movie? Now all these years later, how did it feel to you? And both just as a movie and maybe even from a psychological perspective, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts.
Well, the first impression that I had was that it holds up over the years. Like a it's still a good movie. Um and I can certainly understand. I was actually really fascinated by like the mix of memories that the um John had, where he simultaneously could remember both timelines, and now he
Mm.
has basically like three timelines. So like, how do you reconcile that? um would be really interesting, because memory is very malleable. So it's like, is he going to remember, and like what remember does influence how we interact with people and what we've learned from those experiences and the choices that we make later. So it's not just, oh, my dad died and now it's changed all this stuff. It really changes your personality, how, like, well, more the expression of your personality, because that's not as, like, how you interact with others, and the things that stayed the same or the things that changed. And even like, he tells his friend, remember Yahoo, and then you see at the end, oh, his friend obviously must have invested in Yahoo, because he's talking about, oh, I have the Benz. Well, how did his friend's wealth affect their relationship, you know? And
Right.
did dad like steer him in certain directions because he knew that he needed to be in the house for that reason at that time? Like, there's so much there, just on like an individual level, and then like a more of a macro social level, that's really interesting. Also, they're talking about quantum like mechanics at the start, and I remember I want to say would have been like a year after the movie came out, was when I was learning a little bit about quantum mechanics in science class, and like how different particles are entangled. And they were talking about that at the start of this movie. And I was thinking that it's actually really good timing that we're reviewing it now, because we're at that peak for sunspots and sun flares in the 12-year cycle of the sun. So that started last year, and now we're here reviewing it. So there was a lot of stuff that I was thinking about as I was watching the movie.
This interesting, like what you remember when the changes happen. Like they do changes in the past that impacts his present, right? And so things change for him. And it makes me wonder, and I forget because obviously I totally did my homework today, but does he remember, like, at the end of the movie, does he remember what life was like when his dad was dead?
It was kind of more of a montage, because in the middle of the movie, he remembers what it was like for his dad to be there, and then for his dad to also have died. And then at the very end of the movie, because when his dad doesn't die, like his mom is then killed off. So it's like he's missing one of two parents, and how does it impact him and his life to miss your father versus missing your mother? And there are very different things that having one or the other parent gives you as a child. And then also you have to look at how the individual parent would have mourned and reacted to the loss of their spouse. So did mom become a little bit more distant, or did she become a little bit overly involved and kind of more like, cuddling? Or did dad become emotionally distant? Like, how did that work for them? But then also you would have had dad know that his son later grows up to save him. So then how does that affect the son, like the father-son relationship? Because dad would have known this whole time what happened 30 years ago. And looking at John being like, well, 30 years from now, you got to do whatever it is you're doing.
It's interesting. And I guess I'm asking the question because we just reviewed Back to the Future for the 40th anniversary of it, right? And in that movie, it's clear when Marty comes back, he remembers even though stuff has changed, his family has changed, he remembers clearly his family before the change,
But
not as a result as the after, which we don't necessarily get in this movie.
Right. John remembers both timelines simultaneously. And then later on, I assume he remembers 3 timelines.
Does he?
I assume it doesn't say that explicitly, because you kind of, end with a guy getting shot, and then we cut to the baseball game.
Miles, Dave, weigh in here. What do you think about this?
So I think John remembers everything. And bless you. But what this also, this movie also explores a paradox. It's not. Sometimes when time travel, when you change the past, and the repercussions happen, and you don't notice it. But John does notice the repercussions because, he delays his father's passing. His dad ends up in one timeline ended up dying of lung cancer. And in one in the one timeline his mother is still alive, and then while he's asleep he dreams that the timeline changes, his mother ends up getting killed by this murderer. This movie is also a murder mystery that is happening now. Or happening while this is going on. So is time? This is where the paradox is. Is time in flux? Because older John is talking to his dad in the past, or has has these repercussions of the past already happened. It's a paradox because John, doesn't the full is time in 1969 still in flux because of saving Frank's life. It seems like time still is in flux until there is this climax at the end, or the aurora borealis and the sunspots disappear, and so there's no way for John and Frank to communicate with each other. So yeah, I think John remembers everything. He remembers different different timelines of events happening. He remembers the first one. He remembers the second one, and as Christy said, there's a third one. And if he might remember more depending upon how often he and Frank keep changing time.
Dave, what's your thoughts on this whole thing?
I concur. I mean, yeah. I mean, when you,
I guess my question really is, so this is the reality. He's remembering all three. However, if the past has changed, I guess I just wonder how that rewrites how does that rewrite your future? This makes great storytelling. Don't get me wrong,
yeah.
to have it this way, but just how does this rewriting change? Who he is. He remembers this, but once he goes back and fixes, his father has never died.
right.
So he's never been able to give that warning because his father has never died to give that warning, right?
Well, but
Because
right, but at the same time, as those events are transpiring, Little John is there, hearing his dad's conversations with his older self in the future. You got to think at some point, Dad's telling him the story of, hey, who's that guy you're talking to on the radio? Well, that was you this far ahead, and you saved my life fixing all these things, as time went along. So he could remember an idea of what it was as his young self grew up.
so we don't have any Doc Brown worrying about altering the future here.
Apparently not.
Well, I was wondering about that because the son is like at one point is telling him the whole future, and it's like, should you be doing that? And even again, although at one point in the movie you overhear them talking about the aurora. I can't say it today. It's sorry. Normally I can. I'm having a dyslexic day. It's not going to come out correct. It's fine.
Right.
That happens sometimes with dyslexia. I can't all of a sudden pronounce
Those
words.
lights in the sky that come from the north. Got it.
Yes, the pretty northern lights. There we go. We're calling them that. They're talking about how there's parallel universes, and do these universes end up interacting with each other? How would they interact with each other? So it's like, is it that there are three branching timelines that then all come together at one point and like merge? Like, were they three timelines that then all merged into one final timeline? Like they split off.
Or are we just following the main character as he jumps from timeline, and the other timeline still exists?
That is a good question. What it really wasn't explained very well, and I did like a lot of exposition being told through radio, through television that you overhear in the background. And if you're not even paying attention, like you're gonna miss some of the explanation for what's going on. Like at the very start of the movie, you overhear them talking about these Nightingale murders, and they mention a nurse. And then like, if you're, a savvy watcher, you're gonna be like, wait, his mom's a nurse. They were talking about Nightingale murders. There's a whole foreshadowing, but you're also so caught up into like what the dad and son are doing, you kind of half forget about the Nightingale murders until all of a sudden his mom said, and you go, oh, that's right. They were talking about these at the start of the movie, which is just brilliant storytelling. And I absolutely love it because it's not in your face. It's not, you know, it's somewhat important information because you're like, murder? That's something important. You don't talk about murderers in a movie unless you need to know about a murder. But then you have all this other stuff happening. You kind of forget about the murders, which seems like it's kind of an important thing to not forget about. But, you know, it happens.
Yeah. And you also don't have a character in there, you know, talking about like the Doc Brown effect to it. You didn't have a character in there who's, John, you can't change the future. It's going to, no. This guy, by happenstance, realized he's talking to his dead dad 30 years later. I don't care. 30 years later, if I wind up talking to my dead dad across a freaking radio, you think I'm going to care about any of that stuff? No. It was a very...
No, because it's emotional,
yes,
right? It's the sentimental. It's
the human aspect of it. And you see, as he learns through this, now, wait a minute. No. This wasn't supposed to happen. What the heck is this?
And well, the first time we see, you know, the effect of Frank Sullivan not dying is the day after, was he the day of or the day after he goes to visit his wife at the hospital just to say hi, and you know she's treating the Nightingale murderer. I mean, she saves his life, and he only committed 3 murders in the original timeline. He kills more. You know, if this movie does it's well written as far as you have to pay attention to everything, and sometimes you might have to watch this movie more than once. But it is emotional. It's just like Dave said, if he has an opportunity, talk to our departed father 30 years in the past, and you could warn him, say, hey, look, this is how you're going to meet your end. You got to, you got, either quit smoking or, when you're in that warehouse, don't go left, go right. We're going to do it because we love our dad, and we want, we would still love to have him in our lives. So this is where the movie hits us in the feels. It's like, we totally understand. We don't care about the temporal repercussions of what were to happen. But the movie is clever in its way, is like, yes, but there are temporal repercussions for Frank Sullivan, not dying in that warehouse. Yeah, I get on my soapbox and just sing the praises of this movie for a while, but I'll get off the soapbox now.
Yeah, it really has some brilliant writing. I really appreciated the clever foreshadowing, the way that it gave you exposition without just being like a character info dumping on another character. It was very organic. It's really good stuff. The science, well, I mean, that's not how sunspots work. That's not how quantum physics works. But for the time, they had some, they were just at, I think, like late 1990s, early 2000s, they were really just getting into all the quantum mechanics, and it was like really starting to filter into mainstream minds. And of course, when the public gets a hold of science that they don't understand, they get some wacky ideas of what it means. So,
I mean, electromagnetic fields, who knows what impact they might have, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, they've talked about that. I mean, there was even that massive experiment with, I believe, a ship somewhere, and then supposedly it time traveled. It's quite interesting.
The Final Countdown.
I'll also find it.
Oh, that one, the movie Sphere kind of played with that too.
Yeah, so like there was a lot of stuff happening. So I also found it interesting, just from, again, an anthropological standpoint of like what people thought of for science at the 25 years ago, and then what we think of it now in terms of plausibility and what can and cannot be. I always love that about science fiction, because in some cases you're like, wow, you guys were spot on with the science. And other times you're like, that is not how that works at all, but awesome try, guys.
Yeah,
Right.
the only thing that disappointed me a little bit was, if I was in that position, I'd also be telling my dad, hey, take $1,000, bet it on this team with this spread. I'd be playing the Marty McFly Sports Almanac book for as long as that lasted. Build up the family inheritance.
He solving murders, okay?
Nah. You gotta think a little bit more. Think bigger, son.
Well, I don't know why he didn't tell his dad to invest
That's
in
what I
that.
mean. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Still.
I also wonder how
Yeah.
he ended up with the house and where his parents ended up moving. But that's a whole nother. There was just some questions that I had.
They don't really establish that, do they?
They moved? I
Yeah.
thought it was all the same house.
It is all the same house,
he
but
visits his mom later on. It's a different house, right?
Well, yeah, she moved into a smaller apartment there after her dad died and she got older. And he took the house and she moved someplace else. But at the end of the movie, when they were both still alive, all that changed was the interior decorating of that house. That house was still the same one.
well, because there was a
Yes.
woman there, and he had a son.
Right.
I don't know if everyone picked up on the fact that
Yes.
at the end of the movie he had his own son.
Yes.
Yep.
Which I thought
Oh,
was
yeah.
really cute.
And one on the way.
Yeah.
I mean, not
So
for me
he
to
would-
assume that she was pregnant and not just, put a few on, but she looked like she was.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting because it's like, well, I was talking about those personality like expressions, because it goes from I lost my father, I started dating this woman, it didn't work out because of problems that I was having, like mental health issues is what we kind of underline that. And then my mother died and I become so obsessed with trying to solve her murder, I don't even have time for a relationship. And this girl doesn't even know me, I have both my parents and now I'm happily married with basically 2 kids playing baseball on the weekends.
It
And-
does
Yeah.
things up happily. Nice, neat bow.
Yeah, and coming from a 2-parent household really does give you an advantage in life. I'm just doing the science.
What?
This is what I know. and not having a tragic loss, which is traumatic, really does affect you in a positive way. So it's like and I have to also wonder like how that affected his father's relationship with his mother, knowing that there's a timeline out there in which I was not there for my family. And there's a timeline in which I did not have this wife. So how does that change? Like, imagine if you guys were told, Dave and Scott, who are married, like if you had been told, hey, this timeline you die. And in this timeline, and this is the terrible things that happen to your family because of it, or you are told, guess what? In another timeline, you lost your wife. Like, how would that affect you as dads, as husbands?
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, the most that I have, the closest that I've come to even seeing that is I love my mother dearly, but she was raised without a mother. Her mother died when she was 5, and the impact it had on her confidence as a mother, even now, that impacts her into her 70s. So,
Right.
but I think the reality is this movie just has a ton of heart and a ton of it is science fiction, but it's not really. It's really the story of how people being there, not being there, impact you in ways that you don't think about in the moment, that you can't see till years later to see how them not being there has impacted you because you were too close to it when it happened.
Well, it's the power of positive relationships or the absence of positive relationships. Did his dad continue to take as many risks as a firefighter, or did he stop? Not because he became close, because I know that if I'm not there for my family, bad things are going to happen to them. And so as much as I want to step in and be the hero and get the accolades and do all of the stuff, did he take a step back from being that hero? And then how did the firefighting department react to it? There's so many things that are there, positive, negative. I mean, you already saw how the big difference between how his dad treated him, teaching him how to ride a bike one night versus a couple nights later. It went from, well, don't run away now, don't just give up, be a man, to more of a gentle encouragement of, this is what you need as my son, is you don't need as much of this authoritarian tough love. You need a little bit of a softer approach, and how that massively changed his son, the outcome.
And the mom saying, you just need to be there. He needs to know you will be there. And it had a double meaning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, brilliant writing in this movie. I really do appreciate the writing. Of it. I know sometimes we watch some really campy with terrible writing. Not the Ewok movies. That was chef's kiss.
That was perfect writing.
I mean, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Wouldn't change a single thing.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Well, I have some trivia here. Do you want to hear some of this trivia?
I would love to hear the trivia. Tell me all the trivia.
In the warehouse fire scene, all the firefighters except for Dennis Quaid, Peter McNeil, and Jordan Bridges are real.
Okay.
Because they were using real fire, and they were like, might as well just have the fire department on hand as extras.
That's right.
They can help us put the fire out if we need it.
Yeah. In 1997.
That's really smart. Right?
It is. They would have known what to do, and they could have made it more. They'd probably made it more authentic, right?
Yeah.
In 1997, Rainey Harlan was going to direct the film with Sylvester Stallone playing the lead. But Stallone asked for too large of a paycheck, and eventually neither Stallone nor Harlan were involved in making the picture.
I think Dennis Quaid was the right choice. He's the right balance. I mean, playing this adrenaline junkie, which I took out. He wants to be the hero, but he's also a bit of adrenaline junkie by willing to take these risks and run to the danger. But at the same time, there's something that's, I don't know, very balanced about him. At least we portrayed it.
I don't know if I could have pictured Rambo as.
I know, it just doesn't quite fit.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think this was the right pick. I think sometimes people will cast big names just because they're big names and they want to get butts in seats, but they're the wrong call.
I think Dennis Quaid was definitely the right call.
Yeah, there's been several movies over the years that people have been like, oh, so and so was slated to play this, and I'm like, really, them?
And you and after watching the movie, you're like, you can't see the other actor in there, right?
No.
And I mean, really, try to picture Stallone with that Brooklyn accent. Like, I can't even imitate that. Like,
no,
it's
no.
Nah, I'm gonna go with a big fat no on that one.
Yeah.
Let's give that.
Did anyone here watch the TV series Frequency that came out in 2016 based on the movie?
I did.
No.
That's a thing.
And I did not watch it. Miles, what did you think of this of the TV series based around? There were some key differences, obviously, but.
Yeah, I mean, the protagonist was in the present was a woman. Peyton List. I mean, she was in Picard season 1, and it was obviously they got one season out of it, so this was an ongoing thing. They could do more. It was all right. It was I
mean, he's a police detective instead of a firefighter, right?
Yeah. So the dad is a police detective, and there's some different So they're cop. The father daughter is kind of a buddy cop almost teaming up trying to solve these murder mysteries and stuff.
So is it still like a time jump thing where she like phones back her father and then like they try to solve the mystery before it happens?
Well, there's still a ham radio involved, so there's still that. This was back in 2016, so I don't remember everything about it, but I just remember
that was so 9 years ago. Come on.
I mean, in some ways that's nothing, and in some ways that's a big chunk of time. It's
You're like, oh my gosh, 9 years, that's a long time.
Yeah.
I might have to check that show because I don't remember what it was called, but I remember enjoying this one science fiction show where like the guy would get tomorrow's newspapers and then he would spend the entire episode trying to like change the headline of like the disasters in the city.
Oh, I don't remember that one.
What was that called? We should watch like the pilot one.
There you go. Christy's going to research it, and we will watch that for the next episode.
If it's streaming, I don't know.
Okay. So one more bit of trivia. In the movie, Frank Sullivan was a firefighter of New York, and the numerical address in the Sullivan's house was 343. 1 year after Frequency was released, 343 firefighters from New York died in the collapse of Twin Towers when they fell on September 11th.
Well,
just coincidence, of course, but it's kind of
fun. I will tell you, if we're gonna go with that correlation, Nicolas Cage cannot be in any movies because he causes drownings.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Correlation does not equal causation.
No, you're right. You're right.
Although those are funny. I love looking up random correlations just because it cracks me up.
Yeah. Well, I do have Dave's favorite section to talk about.
Yes.
And this is user reviews of Frequency. And
the terrible ones?
These are the terrible ones. Now, I will tell you that on IMDb, there is only one that has 1 star out of 10.
Ooh.
Then they have to go to the 3 stars out of 10. So this is not quite as low as some of the other ones that we've had. There's out of 580 reviews.
Movie.
It is. All right. So I'll read this first one. This is the 1 star review. It says, the title is Sentimental Drivel. I can't believe this film has been given such a high rating by so many people. What a load of sentimental, everybody lives happily ever after twaddle. I'm sorry, but this film is not science fiction. The dreamers amongst you may enjoy it, but anyone who lives in the real world, that's the way it ends.
You do know that science fiction is not real, sir. Like, or ma'am. Like,
don't we watch movies to mentally temporarily escape the real world? I mean, if I'm watching a movie about real world, then it would just be called Life. And
he clicked science fiction when he meant to click the science section of the documentary.
Maybe. Well, it's one thing to say, is this movie hard science? And then you would say, well, no, there's a lot in here. There's a lot of conjecture. It's a more of a fantastical view of science fiction, right?
Neither is Star Wars.
It doesn't make it any less a good. Exactly, right? Are you gonna call Star Wars, or to be kind of that way? Even Star Trek, which is a little bit more sciencey than Star Wars, has a ton of technobabble in it. So
even if the science isn't necessarily the best, I think exploring the consequences of changing the past, I think is done very well in this movie. I mean, if you accept, or you just want to explore a linear theory of time travel and what one major or minor change does to everything else, I think this movie does a good job with that.
Yeah.
Goodness. It's like sentimental drivel. It's a sentimental movie. It's
exactly.
Like, the whole concept is sentimental. Like,
exactly.
You got to care about the characters, or you won't enjoy the movie.
Fair enough.
Who hurt you
Okay,
when you
this
were
next
young,
one
Marty?
is what was that?
Who hurt you when you were
Yeah,
young?
that's
Maybe
right. That's
maybe he
right.
lost. Maybe he lost a
Maybe
parent.
if your dad wouldn't have died when you were young, and you could connect to him
Oh,
over radio, you might feel differently about this movie.
Yeah.
So, all right. This next one's a 3 out of 10. This movie is dreadful, much like a bad dream.
Oh,
For a movie to have a scientifically flawed premise and then to present so many time continuity issues and have us believe it's just too much to ask. The first hour of the movie is paced like a yellow flag at the Indy 500. You can go ahead and go to the snack bar because it's such a long time between times when anything happens, you're not likely to miss anything. I have seen only one other movie with pacing this bad, The Horse Whisperer. I'm willing to suspend my disbelief that these guys could talk to each other 30 years apart. I was going through some small issues about how they were changing the future. He seemed to still have the same job, live in this parent's house, still have the radio on the desk plugged in. Although other things were affected by the changes in the past, these things were constant. This was sort of a problem, but I kept chugging through. The third strike is the ending, in which was wrought with so many problems you can only discover by watching this piece of garbage. I don't have enough room for them in this review. The fact that the writers and the director of this movie have no more respect for the intelligence of the movie-going audience is scary. The premise of this movie could have been overlooked to the fact that this is a fantasy genre. I just have to draw the line when fantasy becomes so overpoweringly unreal that I wake up from the dream. I would rather find myself in a room being stung by a million angry hornets than ever have to see one more instance of this disgraceful movie.
Yes, they did not fully understand the premises of time travel.
Now, Dave, it sounds like you're speaking as though you've been stung by a million angry hornets. Just
No,
check.
no, this is just my overly critical just belief in a simple feel-good movie.
Well,
Because I live in my... Never mind.
again, I think I said at the beginning that, like, you know, the science doesn't really hold up, but that's not the point of the movie. Like, again,
no, it's not.
does this person argue about how the laser swords in Star Wars doesn't work? Like,
That's because they use kyber crystals powered by special power packs and the magic of the Force.
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
sir. Good lord. Like, again, the plot of the movie is supposed to be this thing. The science is literally just the mumbo jumbo that gets us there. Like, it's not, the science is not
Yeah.
meant to be that way, obviously, because that's not how sunspots work. That's not how quantum physics works. You know, you're just like the person going, that's not how this works. That's not how any of this works, you know?
To emphasize the fiction in science fiction.
Well,
want-
I think too that this story for me really is it is less it's science fiction only because there's time travel involved, right? And we're crossing the spectrum of time. But ultimately, it's really a look at the impact that you being there or not being there in a person's life, how that impacts people in ways you don't necessarily realize, and that they may not realize,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
And I think that this is really the heart of the story. And if you want a good science fiction time travel, there are tons of other science fiction movies that explored out there. This is not one of them. If you want to explore the impact that we have on each other as human beings, fantastic movie right here. Watch it.
Yeah, the time travel is just the MacGuffin used to tell this story.
Exactly.
It's nothing more, nothing less.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even like the continuity issues. I'm like, yeah, there's going to be continuity issues. I mean, part of it could even just be the set budget. They wanted to change some things in the house and didn't want to change everything in the house because that's extra budgeting that they just don't have. Because I mean, I don't think the film was a hugely budgeted film for
So,
things.
we never talked about budget and what this movie made. it was a budget for $31 million, which
Okay.
I would think even for 25 years ago, that's still pretty modest.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not.
It had a modest budget, and I think you could kind of tell. Like Dave was saying, the time travel part is the MacGuffin, and there's a lot of continuity. I mean, obviously, there would be a lot more changes to the timeline than just his dad is there, and now he's not with his girlfriend, and then his mom and dad are there, and then he has like married with kids, and like, is Gordo gonna, like, after he gets the Yahoo like thing, is he gonna end up with the same woman? Who knows? Because now he's in a completely different social status, interacting with different people. And yet, you see that even though vastly different things happened, the people are still there that he would expect to be there. Like the detective, how does the chief like react to knowing that, oh, I've been talking, you were talking with your son in the future, now he's like under me. It's like, how does that all work? There's like so much there.
Mm-hmm.
There's like the consequences would be astronomical. We just, at a certain point, you gotta shrug your shoulders and be like, there's no way that we would be able to fully flesh out all of the changes, so you just kind of shrug your shoulders and accept the things that aren't changed,
Because it's not the point of the movie. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
not the point of the movie.
Exactly. It's
All right. I have two more here.
Yes.
Lay it on us.
All right. This next one is a 4 out of 10, and the title is "Will This Year's Torture End?" Question mark.
Why are you giving it such a high rating?
I'm desperately searching for a good movie this year. No, not even that. Even a decent movie would do. This one was so painfully stupid, my head started to ache. It's a perfect definition of a movie with a good wrapping and nothing, absolutely nothing inside. I usually put a "see it only if" line in the bombs I write reviews for, but nothing worth mentioning here. Oh, wait, I found it. See it only if you're a New York Mets fan.
Sir, considering you don't understand how a scale of 1 to 5 stars work, I'm not really sure that we can trust your judgment.
Okay. So this came out in the year 2000, and this guy's asking when the torture's going to end. Do you know what else came out in the year 2000? The movie Gladiator. The movie Castaway. X-Men, the first one. American Psycho.
You can't argue with someone who doesn't understand how the star rating works. I mean, you gave a 4-star rating to something that you wrote a 1-star review for. I'm not really sure that you understand this, so
The
you can't give
Patriot.
4 stars and then write a review like that. That's ridiculous.
I like, what are you talking about? There are some wonderful, wonderful movies that came out in the year 2000. And some real dog crap, but,
Well, you win some, you lose some.
you know.
It can't all be good.
No.
Right. Well, this next one, we're going up the scale because there aren't a ton of these. This is a 5 out of 10.
Oh,
The
we're
title
giving out
is-
10. Okay, sorry.
Okay, sorry, it was out of 10. Sorry. Great movie for people who don't like to think. When I first saw the previews for this movie, I had a gut feeling that I wouldn't like it. The previews seemed really cheesy and nothing really grabbed me. So why did I end up watching this flick? Because I was visiting some in-laws and somebody said it's really good and popped in the tape. Okay, now that you have the idea what kind of mentality I was in, I also understand that my exceptions of the movie, my expectations of this movie are low. I usually end up thinking a movie's okay by the end of it, just because at the start of it, I thought it was really going to bite. Nope, no luck here. I was more annoyed with this movie afterwards than before. I'll give you the right to say the acting of the movie was good. It was Dennis Quaid and James Caviezel, and both are kick-butt actors. But the storyline itself got really annoying for me. I understand that nobody really understands the laws of time travel, what would happen if we actually could change things. But in any fantasy sci-fi movie that makes a story about time travel must adhere to the laws they've created about time travel, and this one didn't, not by a long shot. If you're confused and you actually keep reading to this point, here are the spoiler explanation for what I'm saying. John Sullivan saves his father's life by letting him know how and when he will die. Once his father makes the needed changes and survives. The son, John Solomon, remembers partly change, and he has brand new memories of his father living until he dies from cancer. But, and this is a big one, since John Sullivan affected the time and in turn caused his mother to be killed by the serial killer, he had to be shown pictures and told that his mother was dead. If you watch the movie again or just think back to all the twists and turns, you'll see that these inconsistencies all over the movie. I felt like the director or the writer thought it was okay to change the rules just to make the movie more interesting. And that's what I call poor writing. There you go.
It's not.
So I guess the question I have is he wrong about that one piece of evidence he gives? The son, John Sullivan, memories partly changes as he has brand new memories about his father living until he dies from cancer. But, and this big one, since John Sullivan affected the time and in turn caused his mother to be killed by the serial killer, he had to be shown pictures and told that his mother was dead. So he doesn't remember how his mother died, right?
Well, that also goes with how memory works. It's not just that there is like a literal file in your brain where you just go over and you pull out and say, aha, this is what happened. Like,
Aha!
you interact with your memories and can influence how you remember something based on who you are right now. So how I remember myself at 10 is going to be different than how I remembered myself when I was 16, thinking back to 10, 20, thinking back to 10, now thinking back to 10. So, and he literally says that he has these memories, and it's almost like it's a little bit of a jumbled mess of like, well, I have these memories, but I also have these other memories, and I'm not really sure like what's what. And so you literally are asking the human brain to rearrange two gigantic timelines of memory. And so it may be, there are instances of this with trauma and things, where people block out parts of their memory. So it's possible that was just something that I'm trying to focus on like my dad living and my mom living. Now I have new information about this timeline, and so like it's going to take a little bit for the human brain to process all of that information. So I'm going to defend the movie a little bit with that might just be like, yeah, a convenient writing tool for drama, but it also kind of holds up for me for what that would be like, you know?
And all it required was just a person who likes to think to maybe figure that one out, wouldn't it there, bud? Good Lord.
I'm just saying. Like,
No. He's basing it off the title of this review that trash, because it was like,
people don't like to think.
that's right. Great
Okay.
movie for people who don't like to think.
well, I was literally sitting there analyzing it the whole time, like, oh, the science doesn't quite hold up there, but I guess maybe we could like do it this way, and this is how it could work that way. And I thought the same thing with
Yeah.
the memories. I'm like, oh, and I was like, well, that is a lot of information for the human brain. And also they did mention parallel universes in the background and how they would interact with one another. So it could even just be, again, the process of the universes melding, because in some instances it seemed like changes happened instantaneous, and in some ways it didn't. So they established fairly early on that there was some inconsistency in precisely how this was working. And I was like, well, maybe that's just how the two timelines are intermixing with each other. Have you ever seen a chemical reaction? It's not an instantaneous. There's a bunch of stuff that happens, and after the reaction, that's when you end up with the final product. So I was like, maybe it works like that. Again, we don't know how the time travel works. Like, that could be
Right.
following rules that we just aren't privy to.
Yeah.
Because if you're looking how atoms and things interact, again, some things are instantaneous, some things there are things like in between things, like when you're splitting cells or merging them together.
Yeah. I will say this, we share these bad reviews, but to have a movie that only had one bad review, like one star review,
That's
even
pretty good.
like people are it's general. This movie is on a lot of top 20 lists, 25 lists I've seen.
Hmm.
So I mean, people are very favorable toward this movie.
Because it's a
Um,
good
do we want to
message.
write? It's a
Like,
fantastic message.
And
Yeah.
again, the time travel part is the MacGuffin that makes the plot happen.
that's
It's
it.
not meant to be this hard sciencey thing. And I think that like at some times you have to analyze what is the point of like a piece of art to help inform like, okay, how critical should I be? So like when I'm watching if I'm watching a kid's movie, I have certain expectations
Right.
and like suspensions of disbelief because I'm like, it's a kid's movie. It's not meant to be this thing. This was not meant to be a hard science fiction story. It wasn't meant to really be a true science fiction story. Science fiction. It was like science was just the MacGuffin to make it happen. I mean,
Right.
you
Right.
had that. You got male thing, and then there was a what was that one where there was like a ghost? I don't know. Like lots of MacGuffins happen just for weird plot things that don't need to make sense necessarily, because that's not the
Yeah.
point of the movie.
Yeah.
Chrissy, I actually I have a question for you, Chrissy. So obviously, Miles, Dave, and I are going to react to this movie a little bit differently because it's like a father-son relationship, and we have that. As a female watching this, does that resonate for you in the same way? Because like maybe female like daughter-mother relationships, a daughter-father. I know they played with the daughter-father in the 2016 version of this, but in this movie that we saw, how did it impact you in a different way, or were you feeling the same thing that we as guys are feeling as we watch this?
Well, I think if we were looking at it between like mother daughter, I think that I would have obviously I don't have children. I mean, this is the closest child I have.
Right, right.
But I can say that as a daughter, I think that it did resonate that way. I don't have a very good relationship with my dad, so it definitely didn't resonate
Right,
on that level. Um,
right.
Although maybe if someone had a time machine and could tell him a couple things, maybe I would have a very different relationship with my father. Um,
Fair enough.
which which
Yeah.
maybe I don't know. I definitely think that as someone who works with families, especially ones who are going through really stressful times, who've been through trauma, and I've seen the results of bringing in estranged parents into the system and seeing the huge positive changes that I can make, that also really resonates because I have helped fathers who have been pushed out of the system for whatever reason, whether that was partly because they chose it, partly because of circumstances beyond their control, all of that stuff, and have helped bring them into the system or strengthen that relationship between, especially for sons. I really do see the positive impact of having that father in that child's life. And so
Mhm.
it really does resonate that, dads are important. They're
Mhm.
very important. And it's really important to engage them in their children's lives. It's important to have them fully present, not just there. Um, and that they have greater impact than a lot of people give them credit for. I give moms tons of credit for doing all the things. I'm not saying that moms don't deserve the credit. I do think that dads deserve a lot more credit than they're given. Um, and I think that we we should be applauding them a little bit more
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Um, because what people don't realize is that if you applaud something, you're going to get more of it. So instead of criticizing dads constantly for not showing up, I think that we should praise them when they are. I mean, I'm not saying that moms don't deserve praise too, just
Yeah.
saying that like water what you want to grow.
Right, right, right.
And that goes whether you are trying to get a dad more involved, or even a child
Right.
things, or your coworker. So if you see
Yeah.
someone doing something you like, water the plant.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. Well, let's talk about where this movie ranks for us. We typically do it out of 5 stars, not the 10 stars that IMDb does. So out of 5 stars, let's break this down. Miles, let's start with you since you are a lover of all things science fiction. Where does this movie, I mean, time travel, I meant to say. Where does this movie rank in your list of time travel movies?
I give this movie 5 ham radios. I think it's a good balance of having a philosophical discussion about, you know, what large and little changes to the past can affect the present and the future, for good and for ill. But at the same time, it tells a timeless story. A son who misses his dad and tries to save him and is successful, and then the father, because the son needs to be saved by his dad. Um, at the end of the movie, I wanted Dennis Quaid to be my dad. So yeah, does this movie have flaws? I'm sure it does, but this movie shines in so many ways. Um, it just it still speaks to me now, even after 25 years. And even watching it again, I found stuff I might have missed when I saw it before. So I think this is a movie you have to see a few times because it's so deep and there's so much stuff in there. There's so much packed in it that affects things later. Like Chrissy kept alluding to the writing. The writers knew what they were doing. I mean, baseball plays an important part of this movie. We never talk about baseball, but baseball played an important part in this movie. So I'm done. I could be on my soapbox longer singing this movie's praises, but yeah, that's enough.
Dave, how about you? How would you rank this movie out of 5?
Oh, I'd say between 4.5.
All right.
Yeah,
And why aren't you going to give it the 5, Dave?
perfection is still, it's still a bit off.
So not a perfect movie, but a
It's not
good
a perfect
movie.
movie, but it is well above my median standard of
Mediocrity.
quality.
Got it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Nice.
yeah.
Nice.
Very, very nice.
Nice.
Very good movie. Very good movie. Love the story. Love the messaging.
And you would recommend it
Oh,
4.5
hands
out
down,
of
hands
5
down.
or 4? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Chrissy, how about you? Where would you rank this?
I think for what the movie is intended to be, I think I'm going to be there with Miles. I think it is, it's a very solid movie. So probably 4.5, between 4.5 and 5 stars. Perfection is difficult, but it's right up there. I'm not quite ready to commit to the full 5 stars, but it's really close for me.
Right. Good. I think too. I would give this one a 4.5 out of 5, just because there is a lot of heart, and it's not. I mean, I am a sucker for sentimentality in films, especially when you deal with fathers and sons, and this hits me in the feels, right? As I was alluding to when we began this podcast, the story of Sheila Jackson and Field of Dreams. That I watched the movie numerous times, and it gets me because this is so. From that aspect, certainly a 4.5 out of 5. If I'm evaluating this as a science fiction movie, I might place this lower, but I'm not. I don't look at it. It is science fiction, but I'm not. That's not the part that is hitting me. That's speaking to me.
Right.
It's the relationships and the impact those relationships have. And they do it through this 30-year mystery, right? So, yeah, I do like this, but
Yeah.
all right, very good. Any other thoughts before we wrap this up?
I could talk more about this movie, but we have run long already, and
We have a little bit. I will say there was one goof I did want to remember. Let's just point out.
Oh.
Around 5 minutes. So 5 minutes, you just watch the first 5 minutes of film. In the 1969 segment, there's a glance at a record collection where you can clearly see Elvis Presley in concert, the double album, which was released in 1977.
Oh.
Well, see, already the time traveling gremlin was there, mucking things up. Who knows?
It was.
I'm giving it 2 stars because of the bad record.
Yep. That's right. There are some other goofs in it, but I thought that was kind of funny. But all right, very good. Well, let's go ahead and wrap this up. And Miles, thanks for recommending this movie. I was glad to have watched it, quote unquote. I did watch it a long time ago, but did not do the homework for tonight. But that's all right. All right, Miles, thank you so much for recommending it.
Sure.
And we will see all of you, I guess, at Shore Leave, all you fine folks on here tonight. And looking forward to that. And but Miles, why don't you take us out of the show?
All right. Till next time, good night and good luck.
We'll see ya.
Leave your tips on the table.
And go boldly to the Lancaster Wyndham Resort this weekend for Shore Leave 45.